So just segueing then from there into looking at our mindfulness practice for today. And the bigger picture, certainly with these emotional self-regulation, but the other benefits that we talked to you about coming from mindfulness as well. Today, I'd like to talk to you just for a brief while before we do a practice on something called compassion or empathy, caring, kindness. I'll bet you each of you who are listening to me have said to yourself at some time, I feel badly that I'm really not feeling as kind towards this person as I should. You may be even saying to yourself, when I first started my job, I think I was kinder to people. I think I was give people a bit more slack. And when someone who I'm supported, was doing something that, that wasn't fitting or made a mess or something, I went out of my way to really make them feel okay. And now I'm not quite as much that way. This is not uncommon for people to have. You may have said that yourself sometimes, maybe even now. And you may have thought it of other people on your team. Wow, what happened to Peter? He used to be really, really kind. Now he's just kind of covering his shift. What's with that, right? And as leaders and supervisors, sometimes we find people who've been on our team that are just not needed to be. And let's be honest, some people come into the profession, the career, the vocation that we have for a variety of reasons. They need a job. It's good work. It's safe work. It's, a number of reasons, but they may not have done it out of what we would call altruism or compassion or kindness. They just want to be good people, right? So these are some of the backgrounds that I kind of open up this conversation with you today. The need to be self-regulated in this area then is very important. Remember when we first started talking about these 4 outs we started our conversation with. So this ties nicely into where we're going to go today with our mindfulness practice. Talked about these 4 outs. We said, we have burnout, we have freak out, we have tune out, and we have space out, the 4 big outs, right? And the course is designed to deal with all of these. So the space out, needless to say, is being mindless. And we're covering that off each week that we're together to make us less spaced out. But what the untrained supporter, person, frankly, parent, partner, adult kid, what we're about, if we're not trained in being more conscious, is we are about making sure that we are safe and that we're okay. And in relationships where we may be offended, we may be hurt, we may get sensitive, whatever, or we get overworked, we know that we can start to burn out, particularly in our vocations. And even as parents or adult kids taking care of aging parents, we can burn out. And that can cause freak out and everything else. So the untrained mind, the untrained person, without even knowing it, reverts to what I call tuning out, being indifferent, quote, professionally warm, right? Cognitively caring. These are all phrases I use to describe this tuning out. And this happens to a lot of us in this profession because it is very demanding. If we're not trained in being more conscious, then this will happen to many people, and it doesn't have to be that way. So when we find ourselves saying, what can I do about this? There's really good news. There's really good news. And I'm sure that you'd be shocked if I didn't come up with some serious studies to talk about this. Here's the good news. The good news that is, whether you started your vocation as a really caring person, or whether you are at the other end of the continuum, just being a good person, but not really involved in doing it for, compassion or altruism, the likes of that. Regardless of where you are on that continuum, research is showing us that you can actually learn how to be kind and compassionate, even though you're not even feeling it. And this is not fake it till you make it. This is not kind of just going through the motions. No, that's not good enough in our vocation, because of mirror neurons and what people will pick up from emotional contagions, they will sense it. People with developmental disabilities can smell our indifference. They can smell it when we're not there, when we're just covering a shift, and sense off all kinds of problems. The good news is it doesn't have to be this way. Listen to the outcome of this particular study. So the study, if you wanted to look into it, and there's numerous studies. This is just so great. So compassion training alters altruism and neural responses to suffering. This is a quote from the research from Helen Wang, the Center for Investigation of Healthy Minds at the University of California, Berkeley, which is a highly recognized research institute. And you can find it many places. This is some of what has been said in that research study. I just pulled it right, a quote. People who received this compassion training showed increased activity in these neural networks involved in understanding the suffering of others and regulating emotions. They actually showed that through MRI and numerous other ways of measuring it, right? So then, if you practice what we're going to practice in this little app that I'm going to talk to you about, your brain will actually develop compassion, altruism, and empathy. It will grow. There's actually parts in your brain that become activated and actually grow neuron cells. Hear this? Just by doing this mindfulness exercise I'm going to teach you today, you do it sufficiently, and we're talking like within 20 hours here. You do this sufficiently, and you will grow neuron cells where you'll just be kinder, more altruistic, compassionate, even without trying. You don't have to feel it to be it. This is one of the major mantras in our book, as you've read. You don't have to feel it to be it. And how can we say that? Let me show you how you can do it. Just listen to this. Our intentions for others really does matter for both of us and them. Our intentions, pretty big. The research associated with this part of this resource proves that statements that you make to and about others, something like, may you be free from suffering, may you be at peace. Just those simple phrases, which were used, by the way, in this study, grows our own neural capacity for compassion. Examples of the areas of the brain that are affected are the right hemisphere, dorsolateral cortex, there's a dorsolateral on either side, and the medial prefrontal cortex. Those are the two main areas that they've studied and that they've found, right? So just, I won't belabor the research, but I want you to know that what you're doing here is not just some feel-good thing. I want you to know that this is based on good, solid neuroscience, right? So from another study, this is like a enhanced compassion, randomized controlled trial of a compassion cultivation training program from the Department of Psychology at Stanford University. Once again, a highly reputable research institution. Here's the three findings. Mindful compassion trained subjects demonstrated significantly higher levels of compassion towards strangers than the control group. Functional MRIs showed growth in parts of the brain involved in empathy, understanding others, and emotional regulation, i.e. the inferior parietal cortex, that part of the brain. Number three, compassion training also increased activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and to the extent at which it communicates with the part of the brain responsible for emotional regulation and positive associations. Listen to that. Right? Now, there's a whole raft of studies just practicing mindfulness activates the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex and the anterior insula, just other parts of the brain. Don't worry if you don't remember them, but there's just numerous studies. We're going to send this off to you kind of as a part of the reading for this week if you choose to get deeper on it, because I want you to know where we're coming from on this, okay? So let me just conclude with this, and then we're going to do a little sit. In your notes, in your logs, we're already seeing this. You're getting it. And I make this promise to you, different parts of the book you've likely come across already. When the fact that you and most everyone else that you meet realizes that this PFP drives so much of what we're about. 4 life-changing experiences will start to happen to you. Once you get it, once this PFP algorithm problem sinks in, 1, you're going to be highly motivated to want to do something about it. But this is the 4 life-changing things that happen. The first thing when you get this, you're going to start to say this. You'll be moved to tears of gratitude for your good luck in being programmed with mostly positive PFP that guides your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. That's going to be the first thing you're going to get. You're going to, likely already, many of you said, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed that I had what I had. Look at the assets that I've got from this. Yeah, I've got work to do, but wow, I'm so grateful, number 1. Number 2, you will slowly, very slowly, start to have a deep and authentic compassion for those whose PFP words, thoughts, and deeds cause suffering for themselves and others. You're going to start to have compassion for these folks. Now, number 3, as you work hard to prevent them from stopping harming others, and this doesn't stop you from really doing everything you can to change them, to stop them from doing harm. That's a given, right? But as you do that, your heart's going to stay open. You're going to get it, that people are pretty much wired with these algorithms coming off of the savannas, the paleo jungles. And if you're not trained, and let's face it, our training in Ontario or wherever, the Western world, the training you get is how to keep a job and not be on the public dole. That's kind of what most of our training is about, right? In schools and wherever. It's not to really go to the deepest level of our potential, and certainly not necessary to help others go to their potential. So then finally, you'll become highly motivated to learn the essential life tools that we're teaching you, so as to develop your more complete consciousness. This will enable you to more effectively and efficiently access ways to control that PFP data bank. That's what it's about. And I'm going to ask you to just honor me for 3 minutes while I read a poem. Throughout the book, you've noticed that my wife and I have written poetry on this whole topic that we're in. And today I just kind of feel moved to read our poem called Claim Your Brain, Start Your Heart. It's going to tie right into where we're going with our mindfulness practice. So, of all the signs of ignorance, that is anything but bliss. Hidden from me, my addiction, mindless mind's seductive diss. Sort out those bad guys from us good, with closed heart complain. Pushed out of Eden just seconds ago, now live in PFP brain. Eden being the well-being of all and caring for others. But let's talk about how we're now in PFP brain. PFP picks my side. This silent voice a curse. In groups against out groups. Each proclaims the other as worse. Also part of my operating system. Priming and filters software. Masters of semi-conscious me. The cost of unaware. They know not what they do. The blind they cannot see. What a joke. They may be running uphill and harder than me. So they got a slower start. Seldom heard love proclaimed. Don't confuse me with these facts. It annoys my PFP brain. Must judge those others, proving I'm so wise. Critical of and self-righteous, heart's biggest compromise. Blessed to be so perfect, in my mind at least. Safe in the delusion, no need to tame my beast. To look at me, you'll never know what makes up my mind. Even I can't really say the source of my unkind. Then first light of mindfulness. Learn PFP writes the song. Riffs played by mindless mind. Endless binge off brain's bong. Facts don't really matter much. It's feel that steals the dance. Mindless mind's old shuffle and jive manipulates all circumstance. Like when wounded from betrayal, as friend becomes the foe. My self-righteous angry heart, kindness it can never know. But as I awaken more, see beyond their evil ways, now love of enemies, their life my work to raise. Forgiveness forged in fires, heat from life's pain, dark made light by flames, a burning PFP brain. Very slowly, more light each year, illuminates my prison. Equanimity unlocks the door. Some rightly claim arisen. See others' tribal, troubled heart, evolved only to survive. Their consciousness deep asleep, seldom present, so barely alive. Now compassion for that sad life had by that babe and teen. Scars from mindless ma or pa. Who knows where others' hearts have been? Too few days of loving sun drowns many a child in rain, never to find a safe shore, except in PFP brain. As thoughts transform to wisdom, I ponder the plight of birth. If I had their genes in home, would I not have their worth? But what to do with those who harm? To stop them before they start. Yes, we must do what we must do, but now they never leave our heart. Now they never leave our heart. PFP ice transforms to steam, revealed in conscious connect. No good or bad guys on the field. For others, never neglect. Even the words all others lose meaning and resolve. As I am morphs to there is, here ego self dissolves. So mind transforms to consciousness through the stillness of mindful breath. This tortured prisoner is released back to Eden at PFP's death. Kindness emerges beyond mere feel. Conditional love departs. See all in the game as my own name, the way of awakened heart, the way of awakened heart. So that's how Joanna and I put this together, and it's a nice preview to where we're going to go in our little mindfulness practice now. So with that, let's just take a posture, and I'll take you through a compassion practice app, okay? So the posture, I encourage you to close your eyes. Once again, we do not need to be competing with the visual sense door for now. Eventually, you'll do all of this with eyes wide open and be bopping around. But for now, just gently close and take a posture that for you is alert but relaxed. Body becomes relaxed here, but the mind is never more alert than it is right now. And the first part of any of our mindfulness sessions is just to become aware that you're here now. Peter knows that he's here talking to a great group of people. You're where you're listening. And with that awareness, we'll just do a little body scan as we've done before. We start in the belly and just watch as we breathe normally and naturally the rise on the inhale and the fall on the exhale. Once again, you're experiencing the body sensations here. You're not visualizing. And then bring your awareness to your chest and do the same. You may even want to say the words to yourself, rise and fall. And then we come up to the nostrils, the nose. And breathing through the nose, just become aware of the air going in and the air going out. Pay close attention. One nostril may be more predominant than the other. Is the air a different temperature going in versus out? Just training the mind to be aware of what's happening in the present moment. This is what this is about. Now come back to your chest. Once again, experiencing the rise and the fall. And then back to the belly. Now I'd like you just for a minute in your own time, pick one of those locations, belly, chest, or nostrils. Pick the area that calls to you the loudest. We call this breath home base. This is a place you can always go to if you get too confused in any instruction, or some days you may just want to just experience the wisdom that comes from just the mindful breath. So pick your belly, chest, or nostril now and just settle in for a moment or so, using your labels as we discussed. You now know that thoughts will come in for everyone. For now, though, we're just going to catch yourself having the thought and gently but firmly return to your focus, which is your breath home base. Okay, that's good. Now let's leave the body in the background for now. And we'll do the same with the thinking mind as you've done in many times before in your practice sessions. Today, we'll focus on the 4 qualities of thought. One is image, pictures, or mind movies. The others are words, sentences. We label that talk. Then there'll be times you may have noticed that there is nothing happening. We label that none. Then for everything else that might be happening kind of in that thinking field, we label that some, as in something's happening. So now you're just going to sit back and use the same noticer, same witness, the same mindful you part of your brain that observed your body sensations, only now you're just going to watch the form or the way that thoughts arise, come to you. Label something at least every breath cycle. Your 4 labels will be image, talk, none, or some. Do that now. If you get pulled into a thought, you know what to do. Catch yourself and come back to being the witness of the form. Just noticing that there's a part of you that is not your thoughts, a significant insight each time you do this. Now we'll leave being aware of the forms of thinking for a moment and just pay attention to your feelings. Label the feeling you're having and also see if there's a body sensation that aligns with it. If you're calm, is there parts in the body or maybe the whole body that's relatively more calm? Could be impatient, could be bored, could whatever. Whatever you're experiencing is what's meant to be. Your only job is to be aware of the feeling, the body sensation if possible, and just infuse it with that allowingness, yielding, surrender, subjective. It's okay. It is what it is. It's called equanimity. So that's good. That is then the basic exercise. And from here, we build our different applications. Today, I'd like to build an application of the compassion practice that you heard those extraordinary research results about. This is identical to what was experienced by the subjects in those studies. Now I'm going to have you just experience by finding yourself in a room that you're familiar with and you feel comfortable in. And sitting across from you in this room, do this little visualization exercise, is a friend of yours or someone who you love or someone who loves you. And I'd just like you to sit with them for a moment, not necessarily saying anything to them, but just experiencing how you're feeling in their presence. Loved, cared for, valued, respected. And then just say to yourself something like, may you be free from suffering throughout your life. May you be at peace. With an intention. And just let that settle in. And that person stands up and says goodbye. You say goodbye to them and you look back in the chair and someone else has appeared in the chair. Whoever shows up in the chair is who's meant to be. You notice that sitting in the chair now is someone who you know, who needs your support, who needs your caring. Could be someone you're supporting, or it could be a friend or a family member or a stranger, a street person. Someone will come into that chair. Once again, just be in their presence, not saying anything. But have the intention and start saying to yourself, may this person be free of suffering. May they be at peace. You could say it a couple of times if you like. That's good. Now this person stands up and says goodbye. You say goodbye to them. And when you turn back and look in the chair, there's someone else has appeared. This time it's someone either in your present or maybe your past life who you have not got along with that well, possibly even someone who's hurt you. You recall the PFP that they live with, and that opens your heart a little bit, but there still may be a little uncomfortableness as you sit there in their presence. But just sit there, watch if you can the arising of image or talk, label it, watch any body sensations or feelings that may arise in their presence. Just infuse them with that same allowingness that you did earlier. Not talking to them, just skillfully being in their presence. Remembering at one level their PFP prison as best you can. That may be too much for you even. You may just be able to look at them. And as best you can, bring an intention. May you be free of suffering. May you be at peace. If that's too much for now, just sit in their presence and skillfully be with your body sensations. Just having the intention of not doing harm at this moment grows your heart. May you be free of suffering. May you be at peace. And then they get up and say goodbye, and you say goodbye to them. You turn back and look in the chair. There's this little 5 or 6-year-old boy or girl. You look at them and fairly rapidly realize that that's the person who was just in the chair, the person who you've struggled with in terms of your kindness and compassion. You look at this little person and just once again with the intention, say something like, may throughout your life you be free of suffering. May you be at peace. Now they stand up and leave, and you say goodbye, and now you just sit alone. And now I would like you just to do your BFit practice exercise. Allow any and all of BFit experiences to arise. Do you have a body sensation that's calling to you? Attend to your image and talk. And feel. Whatever arises is greet it with awareness, allowingness. Let it last as long as it wants or go as soon as it wants. Your job is just presence, mindful presence. That's good. Now I'd like you to return to your breath home base. Just work with breath home base for another minute and we'll close our exercise. And let's close our exercise then as we close all of them, starting with a statement of gratitude. You may say something like, I am so deeply grateful for being gifted this one more day. But I'm also deeply grateful for the people in my life who brought me the gifts that I have. I'm grateful for the opportunity to grow and learn, to be the best that I can be. And I commit once again to help everyone I meet today in my life be their best. And finally, I commit to, as often as possible, in each moment that I become mindful today, wherever I am, intending the person I'm with be free of suffering and at peace. And then when you're ready, I'd like you to just mindfully open your eyes. Thank you.